Blam! Look at that flex right there. Literally sitting on my hotel desk as I get ready for the class tonight for Silicon Dojo. So I've been here at the All Things AI conference in Durham, North Carolina. I did a presentation on Monday. I went to the rest of the seminars on Tuesday, and today I'll be teaching a cybersecurity for artificial intelligence class tonight here at American Underground in the new facility. So that should be pretty interesting. So I think there's one interesting concept that I wanted to bring up that All Things AI got me thinking about yesterday. Is I went to this one session and it was talking about basically vibe coding, and not really vibe coding per se, but the idea of how do you write your code so that it's more appropriate for an LLM to be able to read it so that it can vibe code additional solutions. So a lot of the vibe coding out there, I don't really want to say vibe coding, but a lot of the AI assisted coding out there is basically going to be done against legacy code bases. And so one of the problems you get into with legacy code bases, again, one of the big problems you get into with code, is you can have code that works. Now, whether or not you understand what that code actually does, that can be complicated, right? We talk about that with spaghetti code. So spaghetti code, it technically works perfectly, right? Runs fine. But then when you need to go in and make a little modification, a change, any kind of thing like that, you look at it and you're like, what the hell am I looking at? Again, if you look at some of these coding languages like PHP or whatever, you could literally just have one line of code that goes forever and ever and ever because the delimiter is the semicolon. So as long as you have the semicolons in there, right, you can either have one incredibly long line of code, or you can just have literally a block of code. Again, works. Disaster to actually try to figure out what the hell's going on. Well, what is interesting though is we look at these LLMs, and again, I really want you to think about this quote unquote artificial intelligence technology not as AI, but as LLMs, RAG, Transformer, Mamba 2, that kind of thing. Because again, when you think about the technology versus the branding, it gets you to think about things differently. But one of the interesting things with these LLMs, when they start reading your code, right, is they're basically doing statistical analysis, right? They're looking at what you give it and how those tokens fit into some kind of statistical whatever form, and then they try to they come up with a statistical, what the answer should be, but again, it's all statistical in the whole 9 yards. And one of the interesting things is that whole question of like, what is spaghetti code? One man's clean, good-looking code is another man's garbage. All right. And an interesting thing is I was in one of these seminars and they're showing with Python specifically, and basically showing where if you write Python how many people write Python, it can actually make the LLM very confused because the LLM may not know. Like in Python, there's data typing, but it's automatic data typing. So when you create the variable, you set the variable is auto-assigned a data type. So that can run into problems for different things, right? But you can go in there and you can fix it or you can do what you want. But the thing is like when the LLM, right, when the LLM is looking at this code that you've given it, it may not be able to correlate the statistical relationship. I hate to say thinking because it's not thinking, right? It may not correlate things in the way that you're expecting it to correlate things. Because again, you as a human, you have this huge context window. You have the context window from when you started coding when you were 9 years old on your mommy's knee, right, on a Commodore 64, all the way up until this point in time. And so you look at this block of code, and not only can you read this block of code, but you have all the memory, you have the RAG of everything that's happened all the way since you're 9, right? So you know how you write code. Even if you don't even remember writing this particular line of code, you know the basic idea of how you write code. Or oh, I wrote this code 5 years ago, and I know 5 years ago I wrote code in a crappier way than I do now. But you understand, again, that context. Or again, you may have somebody on your team, and they write code in a specific way. So even though it looks ugly to you, even though at first blush you may not fully understand what it does, it's like, oh, this was done by Bob. Bob codes in this particular way. We've been telling Bob to stop doing this for the past 5 years, but he keeps doing it. Anyways, right? So you have that quote unquote context. The problem is you put this LLM there, it doesn't have it because it's not AI. It is not fucking intelligent. It's just doing statistical analysis. So the interesting thing, the woman that I saw yesterday talking about with this, is that if you're really going to be coding in this AI-centric world, again, you're actually going to be coding. The thing to be thinking about is to make your code. Oh God, gave me a migraine to look at. She had like on the left, she had like on the screen is like a split screen, and on the left she had Python code. I know that Python code, and on the right she also had Python code, and it gave me a headache. The reason was because on the left she had the Python code. Now most people write the Python code, and then on the right she had incredibly explicit Python code, where all the data typing was actually built directly into the code. It was explicitly defined within the code. Not only that, when you start sending values to the functions and that type of thing, you create classes before you send the values to the functions. Basically, it was really interesting, right? You have the code here, which is, and then you have code here, which is, and it's perfectly good Python code. The thing that she was doing though, is she was explicitly stating everything. So all of the variables defining the data type before the code is actually running using those variables, defining what the class looks like. So a class is able to contain multiple things, defining what the class looks like, defining how that class is then actually sent to the function, and then defining how, when the values come back, how that should be presented to the rest of the script, right? And what's very interesting about this is that you look at it and you're like, oh, fuck, right? Because she made a lot of sense. Because again, if you're having an LLM, look at the thing, this code over here, right? The code many of us would look at and go, I like that. There's a lot of questions there. Is what data type is this particular variable, right? How does all this come together? Is this a tuple? Is this a dictionary or a set? Like, there's a lot of stuff that wasn't defined in the original one that you would know, or frankly, you wouldn't even think about. You just look at it and you modify it. Again, you have an LLM, it's going in, it doesn't know what the hell's going on. And so this one over here was just explicit. Just explicit all the way down. And I think that's the kind of interesting thing to be thinking about in this artificial intelligence world. And this is where I talk about, right? The technology job, the technology profession is not going to go away, right? Node might. The JavaScript stack might die a horrible death. Anyway, but being a technology professional isn't going to go away. Because it's issues like this. So many people are focused on vibe coding. So many people are focused on, well, the CEO can now spin up a platform. Where you're like, bucko, a CEO could have spun up a platform 20 years ago. The thing was, they were scared about function calls 20 years ago, ergo they did not try. Right now, because it's vibe coding, they think they should be able to do it, right? So the reality is CEOs, right? This whole thing of CEOs and executives being able to do MVPs or even full-fledged projects, that has been around for decades at this point in time for a lot of things, right? So I think the focus on that is a lot of this is an incorrect focus. It's like the idea that, technology jobs are going to go away because of that. Again, if you look at force multipliers, if you look at that type of thing, that's going to damage the job industry. What I think is more interesting here is, again, that concept of if you are a real technology professional, you're not just simply a code flipper, right? A computer flipper. You just come in, you got your boot camp, you make a lot of money, and you think you're a tech professional, right? If you're actually a technology professional, this is the kind of thing that you need to be thinking about. How do you create infrastructure for a vibe coding environment? How do you create infrastructure so that your CEO can vibe code their piece of crap, and their piece of crap isn't going to wipe out the production database? Dear CEO, you can vibe code any reporting app you want to create. Oh, you want to insert data? Fuck off. No, right? That's the kind of thing to be thinking as a technology professional. Again, as we start looking at these code bases, right? One of the things to consider, and they talk about this a lot at the All Things AI conference, is where does AI fit in the org chart? Right? Is the AI your tool, or is the AI your peer, or God help you, is AI your boss? Again, some interesting questions here. But one of the things to be thinking about, right? I talk about office politics. I talk about communication a lot. I talk about how you should know the name of the dog of the secretary. I talk about how you should be able to go in and talk to the CEO about how their kids is doing in lacrosse or whatever, right? There's a way of communicating with the people that you work with. Well, in the AI world, the quote unquote people that you might be working with might be an AI agent. And so, how you communicate with the AI agents is something that you might have to think about, right? You ask the CEO how their kid is doing in lacrosse, and that's one of the ways that hopefully you can get a rack of servers if you need it. Kiss up to the boss. But the other thing to be thinking about, if you want the AI agents to be able to produce code that's actually worthwhile, that's going to be going to your legacy systems, maybe the way that you talk with them is by being excessively explicit when you are writing your own code, so they know what the hell you're talking about. So anyways, I think that's kind of an interesting thing. And again, it's one of those interesting questions of, do we need better technology professionals? Maybe fewer technology professionals, right? Maybe you don't need as many coders because coding agents can now do more of that rote work. But as I say, as a technology professional, you get paid by the whiteboard. The whiteboard is where you get paid. The actual coding is just what you have to do to get the paycheck itself. So one of the things might be is you have one high-end engineer that can very explicitly write out code in ways that these AI agents and all that kind of stuff will understand, and then they're able to use the AI agents in order to multiply their work. So yeah, in some ways, and maybe in many ways, actually writing code and actually doing deployments might get difficult. Which I do feel like, again, having been in this field since the 90s, it's like, yeah, that sounds about right. Oh, wow, you mean this amazing technology is going to save the CEO so much money, and I'm going to get 2 hours more work a day. I can either get laid off, or I can work more. Yay, technology. I'm so passionate about this industry, can't you tell? So anyways, what do you think? What do you think about this with writing your code to be excessively explicit so that coding agents and LLMs know what the hell you're talking about? Do you think coding is actually going to get harder in this LLM world? Have you been here for more than 5 minutes? Do you know how this story ends? Anyways, put your thoughts down below. Do remember, I do these videos in order to support Silicon Dojo, free hands-on technology education that empowers you to do whatever the hell it is you want to do. We're having a class here in Durham tonight on cybersecurity and artificial intelligence. We have many classes coming down the pike. If you want to support what I do, there is a donor box link down below. And if you want to come to a class, go to silicondojo.com. And with that, see y'all later.